A very good morning to you and welcome to another week. Of course, it's a Monday and we are live here on Rise and Shine this morning. I am super delighted to be here. And of course, I welcome everybody that will be linking up with us today on Rise and Shine and on Spectrum Television. My name is Janice Kobum. Thank you so much for being part of
Good morning, Africa. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Akwa Ibom State. It's a beautiful day to rise and shine and a brand new week to head out again. My name is Uyai Anekan and I am thankful to be alive to do this again with you this week. Please follow us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find at spectrumtv.ng. Let's drive the conversation, let's make contribution. Our phone lines will also be displayed in the course of the program this morning. Feel free to call in or send us WhatsApp and text messages and we'll be glad to take those contributions this morning. Good morning once again and thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Good morning, Janice.
Good morning, yeah.
How was the weekend?
Weekend was fantastic. More like it's always a time to rest and then plan for the next week. Also, time to like go out, get supplies when you know that supplies are done from the house and all of that. And what else? What else? I think basically just went through the whole paparazzi that happened during the weekend from yeah, the AMVCA was one thing that got a lot of us glued to our TV screens, and all of the fashion statements. I know that some people have actually drawn conversations from the fact that yes, Nigerian movie industry is actually doing great, but aside from the movie industry, we've also had like very lovely red carpet moments. You know, some things we'll see on the UK runway. We're beginning to see Nigerians come up, you know, with their A game when it comes to fashion and creativity and all of that. So we saw very beautiful pieces, you know, during the weekend. Let's not even talk about the awards and everything, but more like congratulations to all those that clinched an award. Would say that hard work is paying. A lot of work is being put into, you know, the movie industry, and we think that going forward, it will get better than it is as we speak.
It was a beautiful array of colors, excitement for, you know, the awardees who won, you know, out of the nominations that we made available. And just like we're having a conversation over the weekend, it goes to show how much Nollywood industry and the African movie cinema has actually evolved in the past couple of years. It's like they always say, the MVCAs is an opportunity to give back to, you know, actors, actresses, producers and directors, all the likes who have been given into the industry. A couple of movies that are, you know, really close to the hearts of people won the awards, the likes of Anik Lapo. I also know that Jade, the Subaru's movie, won the awards, because something else that we notice in the industry right now is that we have a lot of quote and unquote newbies, new people, you know, the saddle, movies, producers, directors, scriptwriters, and the like. So it was good to see. And I won't forget to mention also that there were some awards that did not quite, you know,
Sit well with a lot of Nigerians,
Nigerians,
yes.
yes. You know, in the words of Nigerians, people will literally say some INEX spirits caught up with certain awards, you know, during the AMVCS. But then it was good overall.
I think again, when you talk about giving awards and the different categories, the people that are judging will have their criteria for judging who is, supposed to be the recipient of the awards and all of that. So when you look at some of, especially the very controversial award right now on the space of the social media, which is that of Best Actress, going to Anosa Sigodaro and leaving the likes of Nsikpe aside, I think the organizers have a way of, you know, the criteria in which they use in judging. So we'll
or would
leave
you also
them.
consider that maybe the voting did not
Also favor
you know, who
Nsikpe.
everybody might, because it's more like, okay, if you thought Nsekpetum should have won it, then
Why didn't you vote?
why
It's
didn't
just
you
like
vote?
when they're saying, oh, the best dressed, that the dress of the best dressed wasn't dressing at all.
The dress wasn't
It
dressing.
wasn't dressing, but again,
Yeah.
it was in the open glare of everybody, right? Go there and just double click on the picture that you think deserves to be the best dress. And it was there in the open. Nobody generated those likes. Okay, so at the end of the day, who had the most likes? It was who won the best dress and all of that. So again, looking from the outside, you might think that that dress wasn't giving, but it's just like in your last jacket, right? He won the best dressed male,
Yeah.
and at some point, netizens were like, "Oh, what did Eniola actually wear? It wasn't giving. It wasn't supposed to be in the best dress." But again, they did a video, like a close-up video of that particular jacket that Eniola wore, and you could see the detailing of that pieces. You could see that real work went into it. So most times, we judging from what we are seeing on social media might not be really what is, attainable on the dress as it was. So definitely more like people that saw that dress firsthand understood why they had to go click on the like button for that particular dress and all of that. So that's just where we have ourselves. But overall, the weekend was quite full of glitz and glams and lots of awards. Not forgetting also that the Bon Awards was conducted, I think on Friday. It was on Friday that we had the Bon Awards, either Friday, yes. On Friday we had the Bon Awards, and even given from, the whole AMVCA thing, I know that one conversation that cropped up was the fact that we need to begin to identify and relate with on-air personalities. There should be a category for on-air personalities in the AMVCA Awards, because on-air personalities are also creatives as well.
Oh, that's true. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would definitely
I
be
really like
awesome.
the sound of that.
Yes.
Let's see it become, gets live. Maybe like next year's AMVCAs, where we have a category where broadcasters are recognized.
I recognize,
That
yes.
would be really dope.
Okay, so many thanks for joining us once again, and good morning. Of course, you know that on Rise and Shine we get to give you very topical conversations, and this morning we are going to be starting with our flash stories. Okay, and on our flash news this morning, ahead of the May 29 inauguration, Tinubu returns to Nigeria from overseas trip. And we see President-elect Bola Tinubu back in the country following a 10-day trip to some European countries. On the plane with him was the incoming First Lady, Remi. They were received at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport by Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima, Senate President Ahmed Lawan, House of Representatives Deputy Speaker Idris Wase, Kano State Governor Abdullahi Ganduje, and Honorable James Abiodun Falake, among others. On the plane with him was also the incoming First Lady Remi Tinubu. They were received at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport by all of those people that were there to receive them. And I can also see Senator Godswill Ogbuda Pabio there on hands to also receive him. I see you're smiling. Would this also be part of the lobbying to become the Senate President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? Of course, yes. But we see that Tinubu has come back, and in a couple of days from today is actually the 22nd.
Barely 7 days.
So barely 7 days from today, there's going to be a transition to the administration of President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So we are definitely going to be seeing a lot of preparations. I think the preparations have started already in earnest. It started last week, Thursday, with all of the lineup of activities and events that was ruled out by Boss Mustafa, Secretary to the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
It's beautiful to see at this time. One thing that the president-elect has continued to say is his desire and his plan to hit the ground running. And of course, his 10-day visit to some European countries was said, his spokesperson said he needed time to concentrate on certain things without any form of distraction. And we see the president-elect return to the country at this time, and we know that like he has continued to promise, it's going to be work from the get-go. Of course, he is fit, looks healthy and ready to run. And of course, I think one of the articles I was reading was, on his return with the incoming First Lady. I'm personally looking forward to a different atmosphere to the unofficial office of the First Lady, in this new
Yeah.
administration. Yes, it's an unofficial office. It's not necessarily recognized
It's
by
not
the
constitutional.
yeah, it's not recognized by the constitution. But then again, how much of an impact will this particular first lady have, seeing the fact that she herself is a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, having given back politically? I think it's going to influence her own style of being the first lady. That's something I'm personally looking
Will she
forward
want to be in the spotlight, or she's going to be in the background, just like we had Aisha Buhari
to. Yeah.
do? Or is it that for the case of Aisha Buhari, it was her husband that was making
Yeah.
her a little bit insignificant,
Yes, I
or
think it
not in the
was President
spotlight?
Muhammadu Buhari who played a really large role as to how seemingly quiet his wife was throughout his administration.
Yeah.
I think that was something he did. So let's see, what it's going to be. And also, there is a tendency that, going forward, it could remain like that. It just depends on the men who become president. But let's see how different that's going to be. I wouldn't say it was really of the, in the best interest of the first lady. But then we know that, like, she did background things. But we would like to see more outspoken first ladies.
Yeah.
I think it usually helps to push her husband's narrative further to the people.
Well, anyways, just like the federal government has also pointed out, we're expecting about 65 different heads of government in the country during the inauguration as well. And Bola Ahmed Tinubu has said that as part of his trip to the European countries, it was to help him fine-tune his policies and transition process and all of that. But we are happy to see that President-elect is back in the country. And of course, there's going to be an inauguration on May 29, which is just 7 days away from today. Fingers crossed, Nigerians are also looking forward to it. And I know that some people are also in the doubt as in if this particular inauguration would hold. But I know that the federal government has kept reassuring a lot of Nigerians that the May 29 transition and inauguration is going to take place. The military has also told Nigerians that if you foment trouble, you're going to get it hot as well. But yeah, let's quickly move to our major stories for the morning.
Big stories, big things happening. Of course, about barely 7 days for the tenure of President Muhammadu Buhari to come to a close. There's going to be a lot of eulogies flying around here and there, within and outside the country. And the president of Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo, has been, I'd say he's one of the first to have, given his voice with this. Of course, with barely 7 days to the end of his tenure, the president, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, retired on Friday, such amid tributes from several dignitaries led by his Ghanaian counterpart, President Nana Akufo-Addo. As leaders, we all have our high and low moments, but I have no doubt that posterity will be kind to Muhammadu Buhari, Akufo-Addo stated. Now, he said this in his address as chairman of the public presentation and launch of 2 biographies written about Buhari's life and tenure as president. Now, the 2 books, State of Repair, How Muhammadu Buhari Tried to Change Nigeria for Good by Anthony Goldman, and The Legacy of Muhammadu Buhari by Senator Abu Ibrahim, were reviewed by the former governor of Ekiti State, Dr. Kayode Fayemi, and the Deputy Vice Chancellor, University of Abuja, Professor Abubakar Abba. In his opening remarks, President Akufo-Addo eulogized Buhari for providing a model leadership for Nigeria and other regional and international organizations, adding that he tamed the decade-long Boko Haram insurgency. President Buhari, we will miss you. West Africa, Africa, and indeed the world will miss your leadership, the leadership of a military ruler turned consummate Democrat who's extremely solicitous of Nigerian and African interests and who sought principles in all decisions he took. Of course, it goes to say without a saying, especially when we lean back on the conversation around the Boko Haram insurgency,
Yeah.
there seems to have also been great difference as to how things have been before time. Now, the analysis may differ from quarter to quarter, but then has he done, anything remarkably different from previous administration? The intensity of the insurgency abate? Yes, it did. Is there a possibility of totally handling terrorism in the country? That might be like a wild goose chase, actually. But then, like you would always say, when someone is deserving of honor, the person should be given. And if other African leaders think this particular leader has represented himself well in the 8 years that he's been president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I think that is something we can also just applaud him for. Let's not even forget, in the words of the president of Ghana, he said, a military ruler turned consummate Democrat. I think with that, it brings you to mind to think about the fact that transitioning may not necessarily be a very easy one to do. That sounds more like he transitioned and found a way to balance out himself without being autocratic, in his way of dispensing his duties as president. So these eulogies are welcomed, and they should sit right well on the head of President Muhammadu Buhari.
Yeah, I think also that during the weekend, I also read a particular news bit where it said that, of course, more like his fact sheet will begin running from, was it yesterday now? Yes, yesterday. It will start running yesterday on different media platforms. But when we look at what the president has done in the spate of 8 years, just like you said, looking at Boko Haram and a lot of insurgencies around the northern Nigeria and even southeast Nigeria as well, would see that to an extent, he was able to like nib it on the board during the campaigns and the elections. We saw less of it, but recently we've started seeing the Hydra-headed issue rear up its ugly head again. Different killings in different parts of the country, but I think the major success to the Boko Haram insurgency is the fact that during the administration of former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, it was said that Boko Haram had captured some states in northern Nigeria, hoisted flags and all of that, and lots of people in being displaced and all of that. But the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari came, and that was, taken back as part of Nigeria and all of that. But I think looking at, in totality, all of the things that President Muhammadu Buhari has been able to achieve, would see that there's just a lot of legislative reforms. Recently, we saw that happen. Executive orders have also been given. And then oil and gas, yes, with the whole theft in the oil and gas sector, Nigeria not producing enough, as part of OPEC quotas, to him also trying to see how there can be the revamping of the oil sector. I think the petroleum industry bill was one of the major feats that he was able to achieve in the oil and gas sector as well. And then we look at social investment and poverty alleviation. Well, we would say that he's done great, but we have a lot of all of these social safety net programs. The Empower is one of it. Which other one? There were several, others that they brought as initiative, good policies. But the question you begin to ask, how was it implemented? At the end of the day, we would say that the president is not supposed to, come begin to do the implementation and all of that. He has people he works with. So if it goes wrong, we cannot blame it totally on the president. His own was to create these policies and give, give
room for them
to be implemented. And that was what he did. And then let's even look at road infrastructure and all of that. I think one major achievement that would actually give to the present administration is the fact that they've been able to take the infrastructural, take a lot of infrastructural strides in the country. So far, so good. And I think another major feat that would point out to the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari will be the the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. That's another great achievement of this particular administration, and so many more. I know that corruption has been a part of what they say that his administration has been able to deal with, anti-corruption and transparency as well. But would we say that in totality or overall that he has done well in these places? I think Nigerians also have, their own stance, their own opinion, and their own perspective to the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari.
I think if you speak as Nigerians, one of the lines that the President Muhammadu Buhari administration will really be faulted will be along economic lines. It's more like there was a lot of hardship, but you cannot fault the president for not looking into infrastructural development. You cannot fault him for a lot of reforms with regards to bills and policies.
Yeah.
And one of his scorecard has really said most of these policies and developmental strides he has made are for the long term, not necessarily things that we could have benefited from in the 4 years or the entire 8 years, but there are things that we believe that in time to come we'll be able to look back and remember President Muhammadu Buhari for. For instance, he cited the Electoral Act. It may seem to have experienced some bump in the way because of the execution of the February 25th election on, as most Nigerians think, but going forward I believe that the Electoral Act will really frame our democracy in a way that will give hope to Nigerians. So there are definitely things that the president has done right in his 8-year tenure, and having African leaders come out to say we will miss you is something. Do not forget that he's also been lashed at for certain African aids that he sent out to some neighboring countries that were in one distress or the other. Yes, there were purchases of cars that would say, oh, your country is in this kind of need, but yet you are rendering that kind of help. Nigeria has always been a country that she is referred to as the giant of Africa. Yes, and then we have seen President Muhammadu Buhari represent Nigeria in that night in the face of African realities. So he is worth the celebration at this time. So that as he goes back to Daura in the next couple of days, he will be remembered.
He'll go back to his country home in Daura.
Yeah, definitely, he'll be remembered for some good. But that's a big story, and still, I would like to say that still on the heel of many great reforms that has come on the heels of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration is the fact that today is going to be a very historic activity in Nigeria. When we hear that subsidy removal was pushed forward just to give the incoming administration a soft landing, and the conversation has been how are Nigerians going to fare with the purchase of petrol and all of the commodities. But then we see the fact that 5 African presidents are set to commission the 650,000 barrels per day capacity Dangote refinery today. That deserves an absolute applause when we talk about seeing public-private partnerships to be able to move the country forward. Now, of course, this event is going to positively transform Nigeria's oil and gas sectoral landscape. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari will today commission Dangote Petroleum Refinery and Petrochemicals, the world's largest single train refinery in Ibeju, Lekki, Lagos, alongside his counterparts from Ghana, Togo, Senegal, Niger, and Chad. Now, promoted by Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, the petroleum refinery, with a capacity to process 650,000 barrels per day, is sitting on 2,635 hectares of land located in Dangote Industries Free Zone in Ibeju, Lekki, Lagos. Now, the refinery, according to a statement by the group's media unit, will provide employment to over 100,000 persons. The coming on stream of the gigantic project is expected to mark Nigeria's exit from the League of All Rich Nations, but which are heavy importers of the petroleum product. That is something that Nigerians are so excited about. Now, it is expected at the historic event, apart from international dignitaries, presidents of Togo, Ghana, We also have Macky Sall, President of Niger Republic, Mohamed Bazoum, President of Chad, Mohamed Debi, and a host of other ambassadors. Of course, this is great news. 650,000 barrels per day. We've
Yes.
also heard NNPC say they are going to do right by the refinery to contribute. I think NNPC is to provide them with about 350,000, quantity of crude per day for their refinery. And we are hearing that they are saying we are going to keep to our side of the bargain. Now, Nigeria's president-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu, whose administration as the governor of Lagos in 2002 floated the free trade zone in Ibeju, Lekki, where the refinery is located, is expected to be at the event. Now, the commissioning of Dangote Petroleum Refinery is significant given that it is the first time that a refinery of such magnitude built by an individual is being commissioned. Yeah.
Yes,
I
like,
like the way
you
they
said,
tied it back to Bola Tinubu.
it's laudable.
Yeah.
It's quite laudable. We know that one person that has, been pushing the economy of Nigeria as a private individual is the richest man in Africa. That is Aliko Dangote. And for him to come into the oil and gas sector and to bring up and put up this kind of facility, to be producing 650,000 barrels per day is great. Would I say has taken a little bit of burden off, Nigerians and the whole issues and crisis that we have, when it comes to petrol and petroleum products. We see that when we see these kinds of things, it is beautiful to see that the government has been able to partner with private individuals. I think this is one conversation that we've always had, where we say that look, government should bring in private individuals to handle the petroleum sector, not also undermining the fact that yes, we might also have challenges or disadvantages with private individuals coming into the oil sector to own refineries and all of that. But the important thing is, let's be able to break the monopoly of NNPC and see how we can bring in private individuals to also have their own refineries. But I think at this point again, would we say that this would also make the government sit up or relax when it comes to making sure that our own refineries, as government-owned refineries, are working? Would it put more pressure on them to see that our refineries are working, or it will just make them relax and we have a private refinery doing the refining and all of that? But I know that a lot of questions will still be asked. This Dangote refinery, would we still be having the petroleum product, go across the sea for refining and then bringing back, or everything will be done here? If that is so, then it's great, because at some point we'll be having petrol at very subsidized prices. And still on the lines of the subsidy now, the subsidy issue has been great issue and challenge to the country and to the economy of the country, because when we even look at how much is being spent in subsidizing fuel, it's enough to do a lot more infrastructures in the country. But on the heels of that, I think on Friday now, it was said that the Senate actually approved that $800 million borrowing for President Muhammadu Buhari. And according to what the federal government was saying, that they will actually borrow the money but keep it for the next administration to come and use and decide how they want to use it. But why go ahead with the borrowing when the next administration can also come and do the borrowing themselves? So we see that there's going to be a lot. Is either this will step up the activity or the doggedness of the federal government to want to do more in terms of building refineries to actually make the petroleum products a little bit more cheaper for Nigerians.
I think it's worthy of note that when we are telling this conversation about the refinery by Dangote, the fact that certain policies put in place and made available by the Buhari-led administration is what has given birth to Aliko Dangote being able to float the refinery in Nigeria. Policies of a country, to a very large extent, determine the kinds of developments that you see within the country. The impact that we expect out of this refinery is something that would have to measure in time. Like you were asking a really big question: how is this going to boost or quote and unquote demoralize the NNPCL, for instance? We do hope that they take this as a worthy competition,
Yes.
and boost their own production, because imagine that NNPCL on the side is maximizing its production quota as given by OPEC, and then the Dangote refinery is also keeping up with its promise of 650,000 barrels per day. Then Nigeria will be gradually moving out of the conversation of a third world country, more like an underdeveloped country with regards to oil and gas. We're also looking at the fact that we can begin to see the fact that other African nations can also come to Nigeria to refine their crude. So we're talking about a lot of good coming to Nigeria by the reason of this singular action by Aliko Dangote. And this is the place where we say thank you for giving back to your country. He has made his billions out of other businesses that he's done in Nigeria, and he's also thought it wise to wade into a sector of his country that has been ridden by a lot of backwardness.
Yes.
This is good.
And waste and
A lot
theft
of waste, and you know that
and
there is
vandalization of pipelines and all of that. So
the touch of the private sector in anything is usually different. So we are looking forward to how this is going to affect the oil and gas sector in Nigeria. Do we expect that more private individuals can come together, yes, to have these kinds of businesses? It will help. Imagine that another person or two more persons put their hands together to build another refinery in the next maybe 3-4 years, then Nigeria will be making a lot of progress. Because all of that money spent on subsidy, all of that money used in exporting crude to refine it and buy it back into the country will be working favorably
translated to something different.
A lot. And you have a lot of young Nigerians putting their hands to the saddle. There'll be jobs for us to do.
Exactly. I wanted to come to that point where, because with that kind of facility that we see there, trust me, is also going to employ a whole lot of people.
They're looking at 100,000
100,000
individuals
or young, yes, individuals working there and all of that. So it takes off the burden of unemployment from government and and all of that. So it's a great development, and we really say kudos to Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, for doing this for Nigeria, and also himself. Let's not forget that private businesses are profit oriented. So definitely he's doing this for himself and also for the country.
And speaking of profit oriented, we do hope that the prices of fuel or these crude commodities will be affordable also, especially that there's a tendency to think once it's handled by a private individual it's going to be quite pricey.
Expensive.
Yeah, so we do hope that there are regulations.
That's where the breaking of monopoly comes in. Of course there will definitely be regulations. NNPCL is still the regulating body, so there's going to be regulations. But again, what happens with monopoly, when once monopoly is broken, you see that I have an opportunity to choose between A or B.
Exactly.
If A is not working for me, I definitely go for B. So it's actually on its own, it tries to regulate prices.
Yeah. Well, great one there. And this is like a lot of congratulations to Nigeria and Nigerians today. Our president is being congratulated. Our refinery is coming to life in the country today. Imagine what it's going to feel like, nostalgic. But we have so much more conversations that we want to bring you this morning. But we need to head straight down to the news brief desk where Mary Joseph is on standby. When we return, Rise and Shine continues.